Hello and welcome to another BuildASoil YouTube video. Today we've got a product highlight video. And today it's coconut water powder, freeze dried. And the reason that we want to cover this product is that we get lots of questions about it. And it's one of the beginning products that set BuildASoil apart and shows that we're following kind of a different path. And the industry, when we first started, was a lot more secretive. And so my agenda today is to share with you the behind the scenes of this product and why it's special for BuildASoil, how we pioneered this and created this product for the horticulture market and what that means. We're also going to share the evolution. It was different before. We learned about suppliers and about quality and what to look for specifically for our use. And so I'm going to cover all of that so you're going to better understand why BuildASoil, why this particular freeze-dried coconut water powder. The other thing that I like to cover is anywhere in the world, you can access fresh, young green coconuts, and we'll explain how you might do that for a do-it-yourself. Also, what to look for if you are somewhere in another country where you can't have access. Now, our goal is to get this to be able to ship through anywhere in the country or anywhere in the world, but we're not quite there yet. We don't want to grow too fast. We realize that can cause problems. And so we're in a happy place right now. And so we just want to share the mission, and share the message because that's what brought us here. And we want to keep doing that. So besides talking about why coconut water, why BuildASoil, we're then going to get into a little bit about like what's in it, what might benefit the plant, what the benefits are and how to use it instead of just like why this particular product, so that anywhere in the world you can access this and you can test it for yourself. You can see, because these products, especially the initial ones that we created, we weren't using as much data then. We were using peer-reviewed, gut-tested, like in the trenches, does this work? And after years of seeing benefit and coming up with different ways, we would create a product. And so I'll go over that. And I think that you'll be brought up to speed. You'll fully understand the product. And that's the point of these product highlight videos. Now, the person that really, I think, got a lot of us started on some of these more rare products for use in our garden was Clackamas Coot. So I just want to say thank you continually to Clackamas Coot for sharing this information with us. And then for all the growers that have tried these things in their own garden, spending money and trying various versions and coming up with the process that we now know as the BuildASoil way, which is just an amalgamation of all the things we've learned together. It's not something that I've created or own. And so it's helpful to share this so that we keep that authenticity where I'm not just tinkering in my basement inventing this. This is us making it. And then BuildASoil is your logistics company, by growers for growers, and the money flows to small businesses that operate within the BuildASoil umbrella and to all the employees that we've been able to create a good opportunity for with healthcare and consistent hours, and we're getting better as a team. So as we get better as a team, it's important that we feed the beast. And what I mean by that is, instead of growing too quick where it's problematic, we do education and we help release products that keep consistency year-round for all of our employees and all of our family businesses. So let's jump right into it. Got some coffee today. A lot of you know that I drink a lot of coffee, but it helps on camera to have something to sip. And this is a cup that a customer made for me. And I thought it was so cool. So shout out, thank you so much. It has like my name and a few different statements and stuff, loyal to the soil. So thank you. Okay, so coconut water. Why did we start using it? Online, Clackamas Coots and many others, we were looking for the chemical constituents of plants. And this started because we were doing ferments via Gilcarendang, and then we started accessing databases that would show the amount of nutritional property in different medicinal plants. And so the postulation was that, hey, if we know this plant in particular has lots of potassium, well, we could grow that plant or wild harvest it, chop it up, and now we have a potassium supplement without buying anything at the store. And it actually works pretty well. But right away I started thinking, the primary nutrients that are available are not as important, and Coot really taught us that. Like the NPK, the micronutrients, of course, some plants will accumulate more than others. But if you go get a plant grown in potting soil in your house versus one where it naturally grows with super deep roots over years of production, you're arguably gonna have different chemical constituents within that plant based on where it was grown and its phenotypic response and the environment and the terroir and all that stuff. So I believe that it's not as straightforward as just picking a plant and looking up on some table what kind of nutrients it has. However, the secondary compounds, this is what Coot taught us, they're phenomenal and they're dependable. And when the plant is healthy, it produces them. This is what the modern medicine has tapped into. They're not trying to say like, hey, you need more phosphorus, so eat this. I mean, obviously, if you've had a lizard, you know that there's plants that have too much phosphorus to calcium ratio. You can get into that. But for the most part, if we're eating a well-balanced diet, when we're looking at medicinal properties or making medicine, the scientific community is copying the compounds they find in plants. Most of the plants that create these compounds are using them as a chemical synthesis to create either a benefit for them or a defense or a communication mechanism to other plants. And those active compounds are what we can tap into. For instance, aloe vera. We have a product with horticultural aloe vera. I'll discuss it just briefly. But most people know that if you cut the aloe vera leaf and use it on a burn or a wound, it dramatically speeds up the healing. And part of why that happens is when you cut the fresh aloe leaf, there's a cascade of chemical reactions to preserve and protect the aloe plant at the wound. And that's what we use for our wound, and it's phenomenal. So what does coconut have? Well, right away, we started hearing stories that you could actually do blood transfusions, and this has been done during wars in the past, with the coconut water from a young green coconut. And so something about the vitamins, the minerals, the sugars, things that are in it, I'm not positive, I'm not a doctor, it made it ideal. And then obviously the amount of liquid in kind of a sterile environment inside the drupe or the seed of the coconut, I believe, is probably another reason. But like I said, I'm not an expert there. To me, it was just fascinating to know that this elixir was enough of an elixir of life to support humans in that way. And we also started learning about sprouted seed teas around this time from Clackamas Coot. And many of us were looking for the next silver bullet, the next magic formula, so to speak. And the reason why I say that is we're not really looking for magic, but when you find something as powerful as a sprouted seed tea and you see the reaction that the plants have, it's hard not to have it linger in your brain and you start turning like how this works, why it works, which seeds would have more enzymes. And Coot really shared with us that most of these seeds are going to have more enzymes than are documented because most of the research is based on beer brewing, in which we know sprouting seeds produces very specific enzymes that produce duplicatable results under those biological conditions that cause the ferment for the beer to be the same every time at these large producers. And so we know that it can be duplicatable and that it's powerful. And then we start talking about the coconut. And realistically, it's basically a sprouted seed. And inside is this elixir of life. And so it's a giant sprouted seed tea. And so many of us started getting the Harmless Harvest coconut water. And you can get it. The reason why we went there is, you know, a lot of us shop at the health food store and you see that coconut water and it's one of the few that's refrigerated the entire time, the moment it's harvested, processed. And so it's the creme de la creme. And when we're after hard to document active compounds like cytokinins and gibberellins and all these secondary compounds that we were talking about, not just the nutrients that are in there, but the hormones and some of these other beneficials, we know that those degrade, especially when the plant dies. So we wanted refrigerated the whole way, and Harmless Harvest shared that message, and that's why they're looked to as kind of a leader. And a lot of us, you know, like every 10th bottle is purple, and they explain why for Harmless Harvest and what that means. But a lot of us would get those purple ones and try and use it, you know, whatever. But the results that all of us were getting doing that, you can hear us talk about it like 10 years ago on the Adam Dunn Show. Phenomenal. And at that time, I thought it was really silly to foliar spray. I'm thinking, how would that work? But we get results foliar spray or soil drenched. I prefer to soil drench, but while I'm doing that, I always do a little foliar spray. What I'm learning about plants and how they can, their stomata, and really so many things that we're learning. There is a lot of ways the plants can take in and leverage nutrients from their atmosphere around the leaf. And so it does make sense. But that's part of what led us here. Sprouted seed teas, learning about the inside nutrition. So on the website, I have, you know, the description that it's going to remind me of a few key points to bring up. But deeper in the description on our website, we have a link to many white papers. And we try and reference actual data to make sure that we're sharing reality and not just what we think. And then we can talk about it openly together. And so this one's called The Chemical Composition and Biological Properties of Coconut. And a lot of us would research this. There's this Dr. Christopher. And I believe he had comfrey and a few other medicinal compounds, but he sold a lot of cleanses, wildly popular. Well, his students, when they took his class, would have to write papers on the chemical constituents of plants. And there's some amazing ones on aloe vera. But this is an actual scientific white paper, and you can see the links. And in here it goes through the chemical composition. And so it talks about the water, the sucrose, glucose, fructose, which a lot of growers are looking for these carbohydrate sugar sources to benefit the biology in the soil and to feed them. And we know that coconut water is also used in stem cell culture because it has some special properties. And so a lot of us are looking to these papers to figure out like what makes it so special. It's almost reversed. Like we know this works, why? And I'm not going to tell you exactly, but you can read these papers and see the story about why this might be so beneficial. You've got a diverse source of sugars that can feed the biology and lead to the increased ripening that we're looking for in our flowers when we're growing indoors. And along with that, coconut water is known to be higher in potassium, which is a great flower finisher. It's also great at transition. So like the hydroponic traditional method would be phosphorus for like rooting and then phosphorus for blooming. But you'd have potassium to kind of harden off the veg period before transition and potassium to kind of harden off the finish towards the end. Now, we don't subscribe to that methodology where we're looking at individual components. We want to be more of a steward and allow the process to happen, but knowing what's in it, it really helps. And then you go down, you could read this white paper because it's going to be too hard to see here, but it's got a whole table. And you can see like thiamine, riboflavin, niacin, folate, folic acid, dropping down into fatty acids and amino acids. You have alanine and you have arginine, and you can just go through like amino acids, like almost all of them. Pretty incredible because it's expensive to buy these amino acid products. Now, I'm not going to say that there's such a large amount that it's like a protein powder, like a real amino acid shake that's just covered in them. But here's what I do know. Amino acids are natural chelators and they help bring with. So if you have micronutrients and you mix an amino acid and you foliar spray it, you're going to get that absorption because the protein's going to cross over and it's going to bring things with it, and the plant's going to be able to mobilize that a little better. And there's whole books written on amino chelation and the best organic vitamins that we can take. They utilize some of these amino chelated properties instead of the chemicals like EDTA. And so when you're going down, you see, oh my goodness, there's small amounts of almost every amino acid, and it's delivering trace minerals and phytohormones, the secondary compounds. And so you look at enzymes, and they're all present on this list, showing catalase, diastase, peroxidase, DNA polymerases. And so it's potential that some of these enzymes could be missing and unlock. And when you think about biological products, what we need, I think of it like a 3D printer, and it needs to have all of the data to make it, or all of the ingredients like in an actual printer, all of the colors. And so to make a plant, the biological process might have 20 different ways of doing this, but the most efficient way would be providing it what it needs to do the job. And enzymes and micronutrients are coenzymes. And so when you have all the micronutrients and you have the enzymes and you have the building blocks, you can literally go create any compound the plant needs to create. And so we're unlocking that by leveraging a very special product that taps into the beginning of life in a sprouted seed tea. So I don't want to spend too much time geeking out, but part of what these videos is for is spending time. So if this is boring to you, you can just skip around and find what's really good for you. We'll go over some FAQs towards the end, but it's like some of you want to know all this stuff. And then like I forget that you don't know this just because it's in my head when I create the products and when the whole team goes to work. And then we get all the feedback, like it doesn't mean that a brand new grower that's just setting out to do this, they may not know. And they're going, what the hell? What's the hype about? And then what we're gonna go into is like when we first started at the health food store, besides buying the really expensive Harmless Harvest, which this is significantly more economical. We'll talk about it. Some people would buy the coconuts, but they're not fresh. They were harvested too long ago. And so we don't think that's a good way to go. Another thing to be aware of real quick is if you go buy any coconut water powder, for human use, typically they have a lot of additives for electrolytes and vitamins, and they may not be good for your plant. They have salt in it. So we want to make sure that we're looking at something good for plants and for us, and that's a single ingredient. We are going to be moving towards packing these in a local food grade kitchen so that we can tell you you can drink it. Right now we have stainless steel tables, a great process, but it's not packed in a food grade facility. It's for horticulture use. Soon we'll be packing that in a culinary kitchen. We're going to be renting time on our production schedule. And then we'll be putting a sticker on here so that you know when that actually comes down the line. So look for that. There's so many more pages on here and there's so many things. So like what it gets deep into, deeper down is the cytokinins. And it goes through a ton of words that I can't even read and talks about that they're present, and then gibberellins and auxins and all these things. And it lists young green, where mature, here you can see it's empty. Mature doesn't have, it does have indole-3 acetic acid, which is an auxin, and there is some in mature, but there's 10 to 20 times the amount in the young green. And if you know anything about indole-3 acetic acid, And some of these others is they're utilized to produce rooting in the rooting hormone compounds. I think aloe vera has actually got more of the compounds that we're looking for. We use this as a natural rooting agent, but some people use a little seaweed, a little coconut, especially because it's used in tissue culture. It stimulates life. So there's many ways to try and use these. But you can see it has all these different cytokinins present. Gibberellin's present. Auxins are present. Abscisic acid is present. And salicylic acid, which is the one that we were kind of big on, that is in the aloe vera. It's not showing present here in the coconut water. But it does explain it. IAA, the primary auxin, and it goes into some of the in-depth more about it, which if you're into that stuff, these are all individual rabbit holes as you learn about these words and you start to research, and then it helps you kind of fully come back around and understand the benefit of a plant that produces this. And so I'm big on that. Like for human health, I would rather eat whole foods that contain good nutrition and not have to buy tons of supplements. Whereas a lot of people eat very unhealthy food and try and get supplements to fix things, and I don't think that's how it works. And I think it's the same with the BuildASoil way. We want to produce an overall healthy plant and not try and be perfect at pinpointing. And so coconut water fits that. It has so many benefits to it. I could go on for days, but I just wanted to share with you the white paper. Let's get into the next stuff. We've talked about a few of the things. I want to show you how soluble it is and kind of get into that. I did mention at the health food store, you want to look for, if you're in another country or you're just somewhere and like, hey, look we encourage, BuildASoil is like, just go buy your own. We offer this, we hope you buy our product. But if you're not around and you have some at home, just read the ingredients. If it has salts and electrolytes and other things, I would avoid using it in your plants. But if it's a single ingredient, it's pretty rare, but there are some out there, then you can totally use that. And that's one of the things that I started doing when I started BuildASoil was I would open my medicine cabinet and I would play with some of the like stomach enzyme capsules and play with some of the probiotics, and I'd put them in my compost tea, and I'd use mushroom supplements that I think are phenomenal. And I'd use those powders, and I still do that to this day. And so there's no one right way to do this, but much like human health, we tap into things that we know work and have worked for thousands of years for human and plant health. And that's part of white coconut water. Other things to discuss, process, freshness. So we mentioned harmless harvest, why we were all using that. Then it just became too expensive. And so if you look at our bags, we have some ratios, I believe, on the back. If not, we have it on the website. And it discusses kind of how much this makes. But I mean, we're talking like hundreds of coconuts. So when you're using this, like what we like to do is use like a 1/4 cup of fresh young coconut water. So if you get a green coconut, you crack it open, use about a 1/4 cup of that per gallon of water to foliar spray and water your plants with. We see a phenomenal response at that rate, and we don't see an increase in response by using more. So it seems to be a good target range. Then we develop the target ranges for the powder at mimicking creating a 1/4 cup of raw coconut water and then putting that in a gallon and calculating the amount. And so here you only need a 1/2 teaspoon per gallon of water versus buying one coconut and getting like a 1/2 cup out of there and only being able to do a couple gallons. And then this is freeze dried, and the way that it works is the manufacturer, the supplier that we work with, there's a number of different methods for freeze drying, and they're utilizing the latest technology with very expensive equipment that allows it to be kept very cold immediately after harvest and freeze dry and then immediately package it. And so it's all done in a very quick, like 24-hour turnaround instead of taking months to do, which unlocks some of the benefits for us. And the reason why that industry exists is not because of horticulture. It's because of human health and millions and millions being spent in the industry. And so it's so awesome that we get to tap into that. Same with sprouted seeds. We looked at malted barley first because it existed for another industry, which means it got produced in machines and processed and everything to make it so good versus sprouting your own seeds. Most of us don't live around a coconut tree. And so this is just a tool to unlock that once we know how to work with can be phenomenal. So I mentioned all the ingredients. I like to water it in at the standard rate. I think less is more, 1/2 teaspoon per gallon. You can soak your seeds in this for 4 to 12 hours. A lot of times people do seed soaks. This is an amazing seed soak when you think about what's in it and how it's the beginning of life. Soil drench for veg and bloom. A lot of people use this all the way through flower, and it's like their go-to secret weapon. Another thing that we like to do is during veg, a lot of people will mix the coconut and they'll mix the aloe vera together and get some of the different compounds from the different medicinal plants and get that diversity, because while we are providing lots of ingredients, the environment we're feeding it to and the timing of the plant is going to select. And so when we're feeding good things, much like having a fridge with all healthy ingredients and a pantry with no junk food, you can choose anything you want and your body's gonna assimilate it and find ways to work as long as you have some balance. And so these are very, very effective when mixed together. The other thing that people like to do is they will use a wetting agent. Now, this is kind of ubiquitous when you're making homemade concoctions. Let's say a micronutrient or an amino acid. A lot of times we'll add some sort of wetting agent to make sure that it spreads through that potting soil or really sticks onto the plant so that it can absorb the nutrients. And so we have many. I really like the Thermex 70 Yucca. Our most popular wetting agent is the Kuyaha Extract 20 and 60. And we created this product from the beginning. Coot actually turned us onto this. I have emails from him from like a decade ago, turning us onto the supplier and explaining the benefits of Kuyaha. It's kind of ridiculous how many things come back full circle to him and many, many other people take credit for. And it's not like us to do that. We want to share the authentic source, where it came from. Others claim to have invented this tech. We don't do any of that. We keep it simple. And so if you have questions about this product, please let us know. But a small amount of this, like 1/8 of a teaspoon, with some coconut water. Now you've got this foamy water that spreads. You've got the sugars, amino acids, micronutrients, everything we discussed. And so then you can top that off with one of your favorites. Mix it with aloe, or maybe you're trying to really transition hard. We got a new product, Holy Cow. He actually uses coconut water as part of his fermentation. And this is using grass-fed, like raw milk. I mean, rare stuff that's very hard to duplicate at home, which we really like. And so people will mix it with that. I think my go-to combo that most people do here is they grab some Rootwise, either Microbe Complete for veg or for transition, or the Biofos if they're in flower. So the go-to, a lot of people for flower, coconut, Biofos, and some Kuyaha. And so then you're getting all the biology that trigger and stimulate the flowering and absorb the phosphorus. Then you're getting all of the different coenzymes, micronutrients that allow the building blocks of life. And then you're getting it evenly spread throughout the entire container. And so this is very much like going to the health food store and knowing specifically what to buy, instead of buying these expensive blends that have filler ingredients and just never really meet. They're just sold to the people that don't know. And those that do know, they really research each ingredient, but that's difficult. So we want to make it very easy for you. And if we do make blends, we want to follow the most authentic method so that when you learn and you come back, whether it's the first day or years from now, you can vet us, research us, and you'll be nodding your head going, wow, they really did this right the whole way. That's our goal. So you can make combinations, all sorts of stuff. Let's talk about the powder. Let's talk about what it looks like real quick, because I think, you're about to buy this online. You don't know me, and you want to see maybe what it looks like. So I've got our BuildASoil sprayer, which I really like. It's got an adjustable nozzle. This could be used for drenching, obviously. Just change the nozzle and I could water seedlings. I could water a couple of larger plants. It'd be a little slow for big plants. But I could also foliar spray, get a lot of work done. And so because it's a clear jug, I figured this would be great for me to show you. So I'm just gonna pop this off. Let's take a look. I'll do my best to hold it up to the camera here. Really just want to get an idea of the texture, the flowability, how long it takes to dissolve. And so when you open it, you might see some very small clumps in there. I don't think you're gonna be able to see that, but that's totally fine. What used to happen is we would get coconut powder, and all the manufacturers, like the middlemen that were distributing in the United States, and they did this for nutraceutical companies, like those that are making really good like protein shakes and vitamins and stuff. They get these rare ingredients from these suppliers in the United States. And our supplier was so adamant, like educating us like they're the most professional in the world and saying you have to have the starch mixed into the coconut water or it'll turn into a brick. And what we found is that the product with the starch in it, up to 18% cassava, yucca powder, which is like a potato, it's like a starchy, it's a powder. They put it in there up to 18% to cut it and sell us a cheaper product. And it absorbs so much water from the air, it would completely brick up if you left it open, especially in a humid environment. So many customers would keep it in the freezer. Well, fast forward, we found the supplier that has the single ingredient. And while you might see a couple tiny clumps, they just break up, they never stick together. I've never had it clump or brick up, and it dissolves so easily. And so that really got us excited because it was a problem to buy an expensive product and have it brick up. So rest assured, this product will not brick up. We have a guarantee on it, just like all of our products, where we want you to be happy and you're gonna get the results. And so this, you can go a little harder on it. If I look on here, half teaspoon per gallon is really like the measured amount. So I can put such a small amount. When I foliar spray, sometimes I actually go a little bit heavier, meaning you shouldn't be fearful of that. It's just that we might be a little bit wasteful. It's not gonna like burn your plant. And I'd at least like you to know that. So I'm just gonna smash it up. You don't really have to do that. It's just easier for me to dump it in here and kind of show you how it dissolves. Might be able to see the color there. And then I'm gonna just put it in here so you can see. And it immediately just disperses in there. So it's just so easy to work with. I think that's another reason why it's probably one of our best selling products, which is crazy because we're a soil company, but right, what people want, I want to do, and all of us use these products. And so it's really been great to have these products instead of just soil, because it takes all of these processes to get it right. And so as a company for BuildASoil, we want to eventually have a solution for every problem that we really believe in as a community. And it wasn't always that way. We would be, trying to bridge the gap from all these different locations. Things too, like in the beginning, finding good compost, good worm castings was so hard, and BuildASoil is sourced through expensive testing, some of the best on the market. And so slowly but surely, it's becoming much easier to communicate from coast to coast and share the systematic methodology for a living soil grow. Where back in the day, you'd be like, yeah, grab some compost, make a tea, do this. All of our ingredients were so different and they were so diverse in quality. Some were so shit, you'd ruin your grow. And then people are like, this organics does not work. Well, our mission is to make sure that people do know that it works, show the evidence of that. You can borrow from the confidence of seeing our grows and all of our customers' grows. I mean, first-time growers killing it. It didn't used to happen. When I first learned about indoor growing, most of my friends were like, I tried, it didn't work. I'm thinking, how hard can this be? And you just don't know what you don't know. You walk into pest issues and watering issues and problems that it's just harder than it seems going the entire cycle. And the BuildASoil way makes it super easy. I think the coconut water powder is one reason why. And you might be seeing this 10 years in the future. You might be seeing it the day it's published. But for season 7 in YouTube, we're gonna be showing a little bit more of the cutting edge tech for the BuildASoil way, where season 6 was water only, because we wanna share with you that you don't need this stuff. You don't need coconut water to grow. So if you're on a budget and you're just getting started, stick with the fundamental basics. And when you start to add products like this, it's gonna blow your mind what it does, and you're gonna actually know for sure the difference because you've seen it. A lot of customers do just jump in because they wanna go all in, but I do like making soil from scratch and starting with minimums first. And what that does is typically makes you start with a larger container size or a bigger volume of soil for your garden. That unlocks a lot right there. Then bringing in some of these specialty products can really take it next level. And a lot of us, it's like in the Olympics, in a sprinting match or something, in a race, the winner might be like 0.2 seconds ahead of the loser. Like we're talking not even medaling is half a second off. A lot of us that are BuildASoil customers, there's like a group of people that think, the soil quality doesn't really matter and whatever, weeds weed, or plants are plants. And there's the group of us that I identify with, that I am part of, that thinks that quality matters and that all this stuff does make a difference. And we apply it as a lifestyle to our personal life as well as to our plants. And if you're one of those people, I think you're gonna love working with us. If you've got questions, it would be really phenomenal to ask coconut water related questions in here. And maybe I can do a follow-up video answering all of your coconut water specific questions, because it's been a long time since I've been brand new to this. And sometimes I just don't know what it was like to be new and remember what questions you might have. So you can see it's completely absorbed into the water. It's super easy to work with. We got the white papers listed on the website. We all have all of the key points. Before I wrap it up today, I'm gonna go over a few of the things that are mentioned on the website so we can kind of cap this for the entire video. And of course I shuffled all my papers. Let's see what we got. So let me just go down the list. Pure quality, okay? Highly soluble. So we're not mixing any other ingredients. We're getting it directly from the farm. We're not going through middlemen, which makes it harder, right? We have to buy whole pallets and containers and bring it in and import it and do all of that ourselves. And it took a while to learn that process and set aside the money. This business was started in my garage and we don't have any partners or any debt right now. And that's very important. And a lot of that is dictated on the speed of the growth of the business. We just can't grow too fast or it can create problems, especially with expensive ingredients like this. Other things, organic certified. So this is a fully organic certified product. Much like many BuildASoil products, once it's organic certified and it's the best, I don't usually spend money going to the next to like pay for it to be certified again after it was already certified, just so that I can say that on my small bag. So if you are looking for food grade organic certified, you can buy our full size bag, and that's untouched directly from the organic certification facility, and then you can use it as such. Otherwise, just rest assured that it's the same exact product that we're bagging in smaller amounts. We are also the only company that I know of, and we're the first company that created this. We're the only one that started the horticultural coconut movement. Many others have copied since then, which is flattering, right? But we are the original source, and I think that that is something that I like to know when I'm out there looking for things and I'm brand new. Like, what's the story, right? Other thing is that there's no preservatives in it. It's a single ingredient. We're also the only one I mentioned that registered this. Like, it's registered in California as a plant amendment, which I think is pretty cool. We have to submit testing and all that stuff. Other than that, I do mention the sprouted seed teas and other things. Here's the size. So online it says which size bag. Earlier I wanted to mention that, and I think that's important while you're watching this video. So just know that if you were to grab a 44-pound bag, which is our untouched organic, that makes 9,944 gallons. Well, our 8-ounce bag, which is probably our most popular, I think this is the 8-ounce right here. This is a half pound, it says. That's 8 ounces. This makes 113 gallons, where we would buy like a $5 to $10 Harmless Harvest bottle and use the whole thing in one go. Dividing out the price of this with the free shipping by 113 gallons of use is usually more than enough for most people, and that's why we want to put the food grade. So you can drink some, give some to your plants. A lot of customers do it anyways, but it's going to be really fun to actually say that. And I think that's important too, that we calculate the cost and the benefits there, because going and buying those coconuts, you know, a lot of times we think we're saving money, but this is really, really economical. Can I use this for human consumption? We talked about that. Only our larger bag, we're not producing it in a food grade facility, but we will soon. How should I store it? It should be stored like in a cool, dry place. I just keep it in the cupboard. Some people keep it in their fridge. I don't think that's necessary. It lasts a really, really long time because it's freeze dried. So if you think about it, like the astronaut food was freeze dried. And so we know that when you remove moisture from something, it's gonna last a lot longer. But if you open it and you live in a humid environment, you know, it might start to spoil eventually. I've not personally seen that. So I'm sharing what I know. It is a very long, long lasting product. I think that's all the questions. There's a few more on the website. We try and answer them. But like I said, put those questions in this video. I'll make a follow-up. We'll make sure that we get all your questions answered. And from the bottom of my heart, if you watched this whole way, I appreciate it. It's really cool that there's other people that I can connect with that care just as much as I do about these ingredients. And for what it's worth, as we get bigger as a company, albeit slow growth that we're really trying to manage to make sure that we keep quality at the front, it starts to change as people see you as some big company when we're just a small business. It's my wife and I that run it, and it's been that way in a small town in Western Colorado since day one. It started in my garage. And for some reason, people start seeing us as like this big company, and we're just the same as when we started, but we have a few more employees. And your business supports those employees and keeps us on our mission to change the industry and share this living soil method we call the BuildASoil way. So genuinely, thank you so much. If you've got questions, drop them in here. Otherwise, again, like, subscribe, check out all our other videos. And until next time, I'll see you on the next BuildASoil video.